This tutorial will illustrate the process for administering a computer test. To do that, you will need to switch responsibilities inside of Arkiv and select the Give Tests responsibility. You'll then be prompted to enter the examiner ID, which is the wallet card number of the individual administering the test. Next, you'll enter in the candidate ID and last name that were used to pre-assign the test to the candidate. The next screen asks you to verify the candidate information. This makes sure that the candidate ID matches the candidate name. Once that's correct, you can add background demographics. We ask that you add the demographics of each candidate at least once. Next time the candidate comes back to take the test, all prior demographic information will be preloaded, so the candidate will not need to enter it into the future, but we do ask that it be entered at least once. Next, select the test that the candidate will be taking that day. A candidate might be pre-assigned to take multiple tests, and so for each particular testing session you'll be responsible for selecting the individual examination that you wish to administer. Next, go through and select or indicate that you accept the testing rules and procedures. You'll then be prompted to enter your PIN number. Then you can start the test. After starting the test, I'll then simulate preemptively ending the test or ending the test early, then showing how to restart the test if for some reason the test has been interrupted. Okay, to start giving a computer test, what you'll do is you go to My Account and you'll switch responsibilities by selecting the Choose Responsibilities window, and this time I'm going to select the Give Tests responsibility. As indicated earlier, I will enter in my wallet card number. I'll enter in the candidate ID that was used to register the test and enter the candidate's last name. I verify that this is correct. I'll press Next Step. Demographic information has already been entered in before on this candidate, but if there's anything that has been changed, I might, for example, change that this person has now been trained by a contractor, as an association, and this person also has 1 more year experience than the last time the candidate took the test. Now I'll press Next Step. And now I see a series of tests that the candidate has been pre-assigned. Now, because this is a sample candidate, I have several sample exams to administer. The thing to pay attention here is that as you select each test, look out to the right here. In this particular case, there is a test graphics window. That when this particular test is selected, it indicates that there is a separate graphic that should be printed out and handed to the candidate prior to their taking the test. They will need this graphic while they're taking the test, and so as an administrator, if you see this, you can print it out at this time. You can also go inside of Arkiv and print this out separately. But while you're here ready to take the test, you can do that by simply clicking on the hyperlink, and it'll allow you to download that test graphic. You'll notice that not every test has a graphic. As I select this sample exam at the bottom, this window indicates there's no graphics required. Now, there are graphics embedded in the test. There's just no separate document. I'm going to give this particular sample exam here. So I'm going to press the Next Step button. I have a security statement and retest policy. As a candidate, I click I accept. If a candidate does not accept it, they obviously don't take the test. So I'll click Accept. Next, I'm prompted to enter in a PIN number for this test. A PIN number is a personal identification number. It is a number that's unique to that candidate that they can use in addition to their candidate ID to retrieve their scores. It's recommended that this number be selected by the candidate and not by the testing center. So I'm just going to enter in a number here. Now, a candidate can use a different number every time they take the test, and any one of the numbers that the candidate can remember can pull up all of the candidate's testing records. Prior to giving the test, the administrator can show the candidate the screen. The candidate can spend time looking at this. Certainly the administrator can print this out and just orient the candidate as to what they'll be seeing on the screen. When the candidate is ready to start the exam, simply press the Start Exam button. The test is now started, and so the candidate can answer the test questions by either using the mouse or by typing on the computer. I will start first by using the mouse, and I'll select A, B, C, and D. You'll notice that the candidate can select any number of options. Only one option can be selected at a time, and the system will remember the last option that the candidate selected. With that answered, I will then press the next button in the lower screen. And I'll go on to select the next answer to the next question. Now, I indicated this can be used, you can navigate by using either the keyboard or the mouse. I will now select answers using the keyboard. I'll type in A, B, C, D. As an administrator, you can also put the letters A, B, C, D on top of the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4, because on the keyboard, typing the numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 also answers these particular questions. I can navigate to the next question by pressing the letter N, as indicated in parentheses. You'll notice that there are several of these buttons that have letters embedded inside of them, and so I'll press the N. That takes me to the next question. In this case, I'll press the letter B, and I'll go to the next question. Let's say that I come to a question for which I don't know the answer. I can mark the question, and I'll do that by pressing the letter Q. Marking it simply is a way to tag the question so that I can refer to it at a later point. The question now shows that it is marked. It has no impact on scoring. Once again, it's merely an indicator that this question is one that you wanted to return to. And I will go on to the next question. And let's say that I select an answer. If a candidate ever has a comment or they'd like to challenge a question, they can press the Make Comment button. They can then indicate why they want this particular answer. Doesn't matter what the comment it is, our test developers will review the comments. They can close that and then go on to the next question, and that just is a way for them to provide feedback. Now, if, for example, the test happens to be prematurely ended, which might be the case if, for example, the power went out, the candidate pulled the plug on the computer broke, I will simulate that by simply canceling the test. I'll just close the browser window. What you'll do as an administrator is when the power comes back up, or when you've moved the candidate to a new computer, you can select Log into Arkive, begin the process again, as though you were logging the candidate in for the first time. You'll go through the verification. Yes, this is the right individual. However, at this point, the system will then recognize that there is an existing test in progress, and it'll ask whether you'd like to resume the exam or start a new exam. I will resume the exam. It'll skip all future screens and take me to the very question that I was on at the time the system failed. If I go backwards, you'll notice that the questions that I had indicated earlier, for example, this question was marked, and that the answers that I'd given have already been restored. What this indicates is that you shouldn't worry about system failure causing the loss of any questions. The candidate will merely need to enter the last question that they were on before the system went out and provide an answer. Now, if the candidate is unaware of where they're at, what they can do is press Show Question List, and this will show the candidate the questions that have been answered, those that have been marked. This obviously shows that it's being unanswered, so I will go to that question by clicking on number 4. It takes me to this particular question, and then I can continue to answer these questions, and I'll just quickly go through and answer these questions until it's been completed. Now, when the test is done, the test is concluded it's concluded either by pressing the End Test button or the time remaining runs out. And I'll just answer the last question or two here. All right, so I'm at the last question. You'll notice that when you were at the last question, which says question 10 of 10, you cannot navigate further. This button is grayed out. I can certainly go back and I can review. You notice that I still have one question that's marked. If I want to remove the marking, I can do that by going to Show Question List. This is a question that's marked. I can review it again, and if I wanted, I could unmark the question, but it's not necessary to unmark questions for scoring. But if I'm satisfied, I will then end the test by clicking the End Test button and confirming that I want to end the test.